Hi guys, welcome to Get Into Medicine's first video. This is going to be about junior doctor strikes as a hot topic, which is obviously quite important in today's day and age. Obviously, there's quite a lot of stuff going on about the BMA. It's quite a hot topic, and it's quite likely to come up in your interviews at this time. So we're just going to briefly go through it. So let's get started. So first of all, what are junior doctor strikes? So the BMA, which is the sort of regulatory body of junior doctors in the UK, they sort of are like the governing body for junior doctors, and they say that junior doctors aren't being fairly paid. And you can see from the slide there, £14 an hour is the average daily hourly wage, sorry, of a junior doctor, which is not ideal for the amount of work that we put in. And I'm sure that you'd like to do that as well, considering you want to be a medical student. So we're just going to be talking about a bit about the impact and implications of the strikes on the NHS and patient care as well. So, in terms of historical context, junior doctors have always gone on strike not always gone on strike, but they've historically gone on strike to protest contract changes imposed by the government. And normally this is around working hours, which is around 40 hours a week, but may lead may be increased due to if patients are more ill, for example, and you might have to stay on for a bit longer, and concerns about patient safety if junior doctors go on strike. So it's a bit of a legal and ethical conundrum there, and obviously it's not ideal for the NHS at the end of the day. And why this is relevant for medical students is that we will eventually be working in the NHS, and we need to get an understanding of life in the NHS and also how that might affect us. So one of the main key issues is sort of long and irregular hours, so a lot of night shifts, things like that. Obviously, some junior doctors may work less than full time, which is an option as well, for reduced pay, which some junior doctors may argue that it is a lot beneficial to their mental health and that sort of thing. However, the majority of junior doctors will still be working really long hours. And obviously, if doctors are tired, then this can lead to concerns about patient safety. And if we go to our sort of ethics video, then you'll see that patient safety should be the number one concern for any healthcare professional. And one of the main also key issues is sort of about the disagreement of the restructuring of the NHS and the privatisation of certain sectors. Obviously, this can lead to a massive impact on healthcare. So junior doctor strikes impact healthcare by disrupting normal hospital operations. So consultants might have to step in, postponing of electives, so electives like normal appointments, surgeries, that sort of thing, and increased pressure on remaining staff, which is not ideal for the NHS as a whole at all, and of course patient care. So if we think about the legal and ethical considerations, which obviously will come up in your interview, the best way to answer these questions is to break it down into the 4 pillars of medical ethics, which will also be covered in the other video, and the link will be in the description. But mainly junior doctor strikes raise legal and ethical considerations, so withholding services, does that breach employment contracts, balancing the right to strike, so your autonomy as a junior doctor versus your duty of care for patients. So that raises quite an interesting ethical dilemma. And there's no right or wrong answer in an interview for this type of question, but they just want you to understand how you would answer this question and whether you're prejudiced and whether you have any strong opinions. And it's best to keep a very fair and balanced opinion when answering this. And obviously get a little bit about legal frameworks, which navigate sort of the tension between the right to protest and the obligation to maintain the NHS and the essential services that the NHS run. So what's the public perception of junior doctor strikes? So junior doctor strikes are quite prevalent. They're quite a hot topic, as the title of the video suggests, and they're in the news quite a lot. As many members of the public are obviously quite angry about their appointments being cancelled, surgeries being delayed, that sort of thing. And obviously there's still a bit of a COVID backlog in the NHS, which might be a good thing to mention in an interview as well. But there needs to be a balance between supporting the concerns about working conditions for doctors who ultimately will be delivering that patient care, along with the multidisciplinary team of nurses, healthcare assistants, that sort of thing. But also balancing patient safety, and is it right for patients to have that sort of delay for your autonomy? So that's quite an interesting argument there. So the resolution of the junior doctor strike is still ongoing. Still arguments going on between the BMA and the healthcare secretary about junior doctor pay. the working conditions and patient safety. So ultimately, we need to collaborate, compromise, and focus on improving the NHS as a whole. And obviously, the NHS is one of the greatest things the UK has, and obviously, we're very privileged to be wanting to work in that system, and privileged enough to sort of be supporting that system as well. So obviously, the specific outcome it might take a while, but it'll be very useful if it came to a conclusion. Patient safety is obviously really important and one of the main concerns about strikes. So reduced staffing levels lead to increased workloads for other staff. So is that right? There's an ethical argument there as well. Emergency services, ambulance services might be prioritised. So people with heart attacks, for example, might be prioritised for surgery, surgical spaces, surgical beds, that sort of thing, compared to, for example, just like a cosmetic surgery or something like that. Obviously, it's quite an advanced, extreme example, but the point still stands. And yeah, does that sort of balance the patient safety aspect, sort of balance the autonomy? Essentially, that's the main argument. What is our professional responsibility as medical students and junior doctors? So obviously, junior doctors, like all healthcare professionals, our responsibility is to provide high quality care for our patients. That's really important. That's why we want to do medicine. That's why we want to become doctors, because we're nice people, hopefully, and we want to care for our patients to the best ability that we can. Obviously, there's ethical standards that we need to maintain, which is condoned by the GMC, and we also need to update our skills and knowledge, which we're continuing to do, obviously, whilst in medical school, as well as when we hope to graduate. And obviously, if you're applying to medicine, then your skills will obviously be very high, and you're obviously doing a lot of other things like work experience and sort of extracurricular activities to show that you really do want to become in this career, be a doctor in this career. Sorry. So balancing these responsibilities and also your personal health and well-being is really important, and that's a really good argument as well. The NHS is resilient. It's lasted for many years, and junior doctor strikes have always tested the NHS, and its disruption has caused, in the past, patient safety concerns. However, it's important to mitigate this whilst also maintaining the autonomy as we are junior doctors, or as we aspire to become junior doctors. Sorry. And the NHS typically implements these sort of contingency plans to manage the impact. However, prolonged strikes can again strain resources, impact patient care, and cause the system to collapse, which is obviously not ideal for the greater good of the public. So there's your ethical argument there as well. So what will happen in the future? So there's obviously ongoing tensions between regulatory bodies, the NHS, healthcare professionals. Not all healthcare professionals think the same way about the way the NHS should go. Some people think privatisation will happen. Some people argue about certain roles that might not be applicable. But ultimately, the way the strikes will be delivered will show the resilience of the NHS, and will prompt discussions about the junior doctors' sort of ability and their, I guess, sort of like pay and how well they sort of fit in the system altogether. May result in policy changes, changing an NHS structure, which we're seeing a little bit more of nowadays, and obviously the trust of the public in the NHS. The majority of people think the NHS is absolutely lovely, but some may argue that it's really important to have transparent communication between the public and the NHS, obviously because that's one of the main sources of healthcare in the UK. So in conclusion, the impact and implication of junior doctor strikes are going to be quite vast. There's a lot of challenges in negotiations, complexities of the healthcare system, which is the NHS, and it's really crucial to prioritise both the well-being of yourself as a junior doctor and medical student, your autonomy, how it's going to benefit you, how it's going to benefit your patients, what harm it's going to cause your patients, and what you're doing is it just for yourself and your patients. And obviously the resolution of these issues will likely shape the future of the NHS in the next 10 to 20 years, with policy changes, workforce relation changes, maybe a shift in roles, and ultimately it'll be a collaborative effort between junior doctors, between the BMA, between politicians, to ensure that we create a sustainable healthcare system for the benefit of everyone. And as medical students, and in terms of your interview, this will be a very hot topic, and it's important to note the sort of benefits, the sort of risks that there are to patients by junior doctor strikes, and also mentioning the sort of autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, the four pillars of medical ethics when answering these questions, and coming up with reasons for your argument which sustain your sort of basis for your argument. So thank you very much for watching, guys. And if you've got any questions, feel free to email us at getintomedicine@gmail.com, and do visit our website if you'd like to be interested in our resources, which are free for all, and if you'd like to be interested in one-to-one personal tutoring about any of our tutors. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.